The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, this is Tom Lane, DM2 Software's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I would like to welcome everyone to today's Business Intelligence for Sage CRM webinar. Before I introduce today's presenters, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. Because of the number of attendees we have on today's webinar, everyone's phones will stay on mute. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the question window that you see in the lower right of your screen. We'll try to answer everybody's questions at the end of the webinar. If we're unable to get to everyone's questions before our time's up, we'll follow up with each of you individually. Today's webinar is being recorded. As soon as the recording is available, we'll post it on the customer content page of our website and on our YouTube channel. And I'll send everyone an email to let them know when it's available to be downloaded. We'll also put a PowerPoint copy of today's presentation slides on our website as well. On that note, I would like to introduce today's presenters, Trish Martin, Professional Service Consultant, and Colin Chambers, also a Professional Service Consultant. Both Trish and Colin are Sage certified, Sage CRM certified consultants, so they have a lot of experience and knowledge on the system here. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Trish, and she'll kick things off for us.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to Business Intelligence for Sage CRM. Today we are going to talk, I'm going to show you pull up the agenda. We're going to look at sales automation, the capability progression of sales automation. And what we'd like to do is discuss a few concepts and then show the mechanics. So as we go through this, you'll see that we're going to explore three levels. A scenario without sales automation, with CRM, and then BI, Business Intelligence, and CRM working together. As far as concepts, I'm going to walk through the concepts, and then I'm going to jump over into a live system, and Colin Chambers is going to talk through those mechanics. So with that, I'd like to open it up with a question. What is foremost in every sales manager's mind, or at least what should be? And that is, how can I make my sales team be more effective? What can I do to coach them to hit target? And how much control do I really have over how they're going to hit target? So being effective is really at the foremost of their minds. What you have in front of you is a progression model that I put together to illustrate a continuum of where different organizations are with managing their sales teams and the opportunities and activities that the sales team engages in. So one of the questions as we're going through this, I'd like you to ask yourselves, where are you on this continuum? Are you at a place where you have no sales automation? Do you have a CRM system? And if you do, how effective is that working for you? And then are you getting the most out of that by analyzing the data that you're capturing in there? So let's kind of take these one by one. So as a sales manager, you hire top talent, you bring in great people, you make an investment, you outfit them with the best tools, so we're making an investment in people and in a laptop, a computer, their mileage. And at the end of the day, it's their job to make a return on investment for you. So you've invested that capital, and over a period of time. So in this model right here, what we're looking at is, for example, Q4. In that interim, the question is, do you have, as a sales manager, sufficient visibility and control to empower your sales team to hit target? And the analogy that I'd like to kind of use is, on the back office side, we have all kinds of controls and reporting. There's end of day reporting, evaluation report, aging report. And that is really well ingrained on the back office side. But as you look at the front office, the concept is very, very similar. How are we going to, one, coach our team to make continual improvements? And then as I'm going across time, do I have the visibility for, to do, triggers, exception triggers, see daily activities? How am I able to control that over time to get the return on the investment that I've made in my people and my capital? And if you don't have a CRM system, really your organization is much more at risk. So you've got a team in place, but your ability to control and see that is much lower down on the capability. So let's just look at this from for no sales automation. If you don't have the visibility into your system, or visibility into the activities and opportunities that your sales reps are engaging in, then you don't have that control. However, and I've put this in here that hope is not a strategy. So in that scenario, this scenario right here, you're hoping in some ways that you're going to get from A to B. So over the course of Q4, for example, how do I know I'm going to hit target if I'm unable to actually see what my people are engaging in? And really, we think of the sales management as two things: as activities. What are emails, phone calls, interaction with customers, interaction with leads, and then opportunities. So that's the potential deal that's on the table, the terms, the time frame, the budget, and all of the communication that is involved with that. That's a process that can be managed, and if we don't have visibility or control into it, that puts our investment at risk, and really our ability to hit target is a little bit of a gamble. So hence my slide that hope is not a strategy. So what can we do to move along and improve that? And so the first thing we're going to talk about is what CRM does. It gives you visibility. It captures those activities and the opportunities. If I could think of just two basic things that CRM does, is captures activities and opportunities. So we have more visibility. And this illustration right here is showing us where we're capturing that, and that's the second level on the progression into CRM. What I'd like to do at this point, Colin now wants to kind of demonstrate to you in a live system what that looks like. And once we've set that groundwork, then we're going to talk a little bit more about business intelligence. So at this point, I'm going to toss it over to you, Colin.
Okay. Thank you, Trish. And I think, okay, so Tom's going to make me the presenter. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to kind of recap one of the things that, a couple of the concepts that Trish just mentioned. So we kind of have a three-step process here. And again, with no sales automation, you've got processes that are occurring. There are salespeople out there. They're making phone calls. They're having meetings. They're writing emails. They're sending faxes. They're doing activities. They're making sales, taking orders, but yet there may not be any kind of a way of tracking, those activities and what's going on there. The next step up the ladder would be that you have a CRM system, and now you're starting to track the activities. You've got tasks and appointments, meetings, emails, all that kind of stuff, but yet you have no real intelligence, okay? So the third step would be that you would start to group that information and analyze that information, use the information for taking actions and managing processes. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you at this point is the CRM step. Okay, so now let's assume that we've gotten to the point where we're actually capturing this information, not necessarily doing anything with it at that point. Okay, so now I'm in the CRM program itself, and as Trish mentioned, two of the fundamental purposes of any CRM system is to track activities, and you see that roll up in the calendar, and then opportunities. And a big part of this is going to be, how those activities roll up to companies, to users, and to opportunities. So they're two of the key entities in the system. So if I'm in my CRM, which is where I am right now, the calendar tab shows me these activities. This is how the system is going to track it. So the calendar activities is synonymous with appointments and tasks in Outlook. So these are meetings, and if you look over on the right-hand side, so throughout the system, wherever you have a list like this, there's always going to be filters over on the right-hand side. So the primary component, I guess, or field, attribute of an activity is, what kind of an activity is it? Okay, so these consist of, all of these types of activities. All right, and I can, view this information, manage this information in list format. I can also take that same information and look at it, as a calendar item. This means that people are tracking their phone calls. You can have these calls be automatically tracked, or maybe the user is supposed to enter their stuff in there. It is critical that they do actually enter their information. The system isn't going to work if people don't enter their log their calls. But at the same time, it's also a tool for them, and they soon realize how important it is. You have to have reminders to call back. You have to be able to manage your activities in some way. You have to be able to automate this process. Otherwise, you really can't manage your business and make more sales. Okay, so this is the kind of the bucket where all this information comes into. Calendar, also called communications, also called activities. I can view this, in a monthly format, or maybe in a weekly format. There's, or a list format. So the system is capturing all these activities. So there's no business intelligence being done here, but this is just kind of the receptacle for capturing this information. I can view all these activities by any user in the system. So I can just take any given user and see what their calendar looks like, what their reminders are, what their level of activity, how many phone calls they've made, how many meetings they've made. I can use this information for KPIs, key performance indicators. I can track, how many activities occurred, before the sale happened, and this kind of stuff. So again, this is the raw data, and I can roll this up by user. I can also roll it up by team, or I can also see these activities by company or by contact, and very importantly also by opportunity. Okay, and that kind of leads me to the opportunity section, where here we're tracking. An opportunity is you're trying to sell something to somebody. So, any given single opportunity could be, a year's worth of sales to a particular client, or it could be just, a single sale. It depends on how you set things up. This also represents a process as well, okay? And you can have multiple opportunities for one customer. You can have opportunities for prospects, before they become a customer. But this is the kind of the mechanism for managing these opportunities and then capturing this information. You notice also that we have stages in the sales process. So this is your pipeline or your funnel, however you choose to think about this. As any other list, you've also still got the filters down the right-hand side. So one of the fields of an opportunity is the stage. Okay, so here you go. There's your stages in the sales process. I can also click on any one of them and just filter on that particular stage in the sales process. And any individual opportunity is going to be, again, some sort of a purchase. In this case, it's gallons, per year. And then if you look up in the top banner, you can see, who this pertains to, the company, the contact, and so forth. Okay, and then this is a step-by-step process. These workflow buttons over on the right-hand side can advance this opportunity through the stages of the sales process. But again, the point being that, at this point, we don't really have any intelligence going on here. This is just, capturing the information that will be used for intelligence. This panel at the top is kind of the beginnings of business intelligence. We do have kind of a summary report up here. It tells me how many opportunities for this user, okay, and these are weighted, so there's a percentage probability per stage, and this gives me like a weighted forecast up here. So we haven't really gotten into the, the stage of, really doing serious, business intelligence on it. This is just capturing kind of the raw data, and then how it rolls up by rep, by company, by, and then the activities, how they would roll up every which way, So it's a data capture tool at this point. And I think that was about it for this point. So I'm going to turn it back over to Trish. And Trish, you can expand a little bit on the business intelligence side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at the beginning I had asked the group to take a look and ask themselves where they are on this continuum. And it really is a progression. So once you've got the CRM in place, you've made that next step. The initial stage is ad hoc and uncontrolled. Now we've got with CRM, we've got processes in place, and we've got visibility, and we own that data, and we've captured it. And then the next step is to really leverage that investment in the system itself, and then in all of the investment of putting the information in there. So that leads me to the next concept, which I will pull up right here. Advance the screen. So that's fantastic. So you've progressed. You're moving along and moving up that continuum. The next question is, so as a sales manager, really, in my mind, there are two questions. This is really fantastic, but how do we take it to the next level and leverage that data? So how do you do two things as a sales manager? Coach your sales team and manage your pipeline. How are you going to do that? And that's where the business intelligence piece comes in. Once you're able to capture data and then present it in a format, for example, an exception reporting, in a visual output that will show you each stage of the pipeline, where you can see individuals' activities, then you've got something that you can use to coach your sales team and measure success. Similarly with capturing, again, in a visual manner, taking all of that data that's very rich, but at the same time needs to be converted into a meaningful output. Where are you with your pipeline? If you don't have a CRM system, how are you going to be able at any given point in time to say, have some kind of insight as to where I am in the continuum, in that progress? And so Colin, for example, had showed you the different stages. So if, for example, I'm at the end of Q3 and I have got 75% of my opportunities in the qualifying stage, that might alert me that I have a problem. So it enables you to have some insight, what we call actionable insight. So you can take that data, create output that's meaningful. You're not guessing anymore, and so you've got a platform from which you can drive decisions and then support that decision. And so what does that look like in our little model? You'll notice I've put these two arrows that are circular. So what it allows us to do, the business intelligence and CRM, is to go through an iterative process where we are looking at the analytical output, and then we're coming back and making course corrections, whether it's with our team or where our team might need to be corrected, or whether it's with the pipeline itself. So for an example of how we might take visibility and an analysis of our sales team's activities, we might want to ask ourselves, okay, we see that somebody is struggling. We see that Mary, for example, is not hitting target, but Joe is, and we can kind of compare and contrast by sales rep, Or we can start asking some questions. Why is Mary struggling? But unless we can actually see that output, we can't ask those questions. So then we can actually have an intelligent discussion, hence the term, business intelligence. So for example, if somebody's struggling to meet their goals, we can really look at some real business world situations. Is it because they're not, there's not enough leads coming their way? Are they not spending enough time on them? What's the quality of the time that they're spending on them? Are they good? Is that particular person good at the initial stage, but they're not a closer? Are they better at inside sales or outside sales? How about time management? How well are they at managing their time? If you've been on any of our DM2 calls, our webinars before, we've talked a lot about the sales reps' time management. Where are you spending your time on high-value activities? Unless you have visibility into that and then some way to report on it, it's really difficult to ask that question. And we'll show you an example of what that looks like, but we're talking concept at this point. Other questions that the output can give you: is it poor qualification? Do you not have any qualification criteria? So we go through this process of looking at the information, analyzing it, and then going back and making course corrections. And really, when we look at sales management, we look at activities to opportunities. And those, it kind of boils down to that simple concept, but really, really key to managing yourself to hit target. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and that's really where I just want to illustrate. Now with business intelligence here, we've got that we're empowered with information, those actionable insights that will then help us make course corrections, and that intelligence also helps us support our decisions and gives us confidence. We're not shooting in the dark. We're not having hope, crossing our fingers and just hoping that things are going to work out. We can really be proactive in how we manage our sales. Just like we would on the back office side, we've got those type of controls in place on the front office. And this is just to illustrate that point. So we're with CRM and business intelligence, you're much more empowered to hit target. So what I'd like to do now is toss it back to Colin so he can show you in Sage CRM the business intelligence capabilities that are already baked in. And it's one of the beautiful things about Sage CRM is the capturing and the BI side of it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Trish. And so can everybody see my screen okay? So I'm kind of back where I left off a few minutes ago. This is just, again, the raw data that's in the system without any real, BI going on here. So I'm in, my CRM. The user has access to their own list of leads, and opportunities and so forth. Okay, so the next step up in business intelligence would be the interactive dashboard that comes with the program. And this is just one example of what you can do with this dashboard. So it's really powerful. There's just all kinds of stuff, interactive type stuff you can do, linking things together and, really fancy things. But you probably just want to start out with the basics and give, end users kind of what they need. This can be kind of specialized for different types of users. Okay, so you might have like an executive level dashboard. They're going to see strategic level type stuff. A sales manager would obviously want to see, what their team is doing. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at right now is the sales manager dashboard. So I'm looking at, the opportunities that are in my organization and how they roll up, by rep, the reps in my team. Okay, so I've got visibility of everything that I have control of. Okay, now if I was a sales rep, then I would have a different dashboard that would be more focused on just, my opportunities, my activities, my schedule, my calendar, and my accounts, my primary accounts. So this is just, one example of what we can do with this. So just keep in mind that it's really flexible. The end user actually has, some ability also to stretch things around, rearrange the boxes on the screen, stuff like that. So it is flexible and powerful, but we do want to start out kind of basic and just give the users a good first attempt at it. Maybe save the more powerful stuff for later. Another thing that we're looking at here is activities. So this is primarily, again, looking at opportunities and then activities, which are two of the real primary entities, information categories that we have in CRM. This is based upon reports for the most part. So this is actually a report, and now these are not like Crystal, or SQL, reports or anything like that. It's just kind of a basic kind of a report writer, but it does give you what you need to pull up, lists of opportunities, lists of communications activities, companies, whatever the individual user needs. So we can build reports that will show up on the dashboard just in the report section. So again, these are pretty basic, pretty easy to generate. There's only like 3 screens that make up, one of these reports. Here's an example of what this might look like. So here's there's about 150 or so standard reports that come with the system. My opportunities, my open opportunities, maybe my opportunities that are in progress. I can group them by company. And then here's just one example: opportunities targeted to close, by a certain given date. So if I run this report, then here it gives me the option to select. Is this going to be for the last quarter? The next quarter, maybe it's a projection of what I expect to happen, or it could be, this month, last month, this day, this week, any combination of time ranges that you need, or from one date to another, or for one day, or anything you need. You can also generate these out to PDF, or you can export them, as a list format into Excel, or you can just print the screen. Okay, now if I just do that and just show kind of what it looks like, this is just an example of one of the reports that you can have show up in your dashboard. Okay, so I can actually launch these reports from the dashboard as well, and then from here these are hyperlinked, so I can click on it and it'll take me right into that particular opportunity, and then I can manage that opportunity. Okay, so it takes it off from right there, and then now I'm into the workflow and I can manage it from there. So that's kind of a high-level, overview of the interactive dashboard. And this is, not nearly as sophisticated as things get with business intelligence, but it is kind of the first step, and it's a powerful tool for, setting up users so they see what they need to see and manage their work, and as effectively as possible. So I think that's about it for the interactive dashboard. So I'll pass it on back to Trish.
Great, thank you, Colin. One of the things I'd like to, so what he's shown you is that the visual output, the visual representation of the data that's being gathered to give you those actionable insights to be able to make decisions and go through that iterative process. What I'm also really excited to show you is here at DM2, we've also built a tool that is interactive, and we call it a CRM user adoption and coaching tool. So as companies are coming on board and they're rolling out a CRM BI strategy, one of the key critical success factors is user adoption. So this tool helps you to monitor how well people are adopting the system, and then over time it also provides opportunity for you to coach. So let me kind of explain what I mean by that. We were talking a little bit earlier in sales how important activity is, and that really is the engagement. That is you arm your salespeople with the tools, and they go out and they engage to get to the end of that quarter with a closed deal. And in that model that we were looking at earlier, at the end of that time frame, you're looking at a return on that investment that you've made in those salespeople plus some kind of a margin. So you've got to know what is taking place in that time period. And what is taking place in that time period? What is it that gets them from the beginning of the quarter to the end of the quarter, the beginning of the week to the end of the week? It is activity, activity, activity against opportunities. So what we've done is built this is currently in Excel, and it's also interactive. And what we're able to do is tie into the data in CRM, and it can update live. And this will give you, for example, we're looking at one view where we can monitor sales rep activity. So if you look across the bottom, each is the name of the sales rep, and then what we're looking at is what they've done in a given period of time. So for example, with Mr. Boatman, we can see that he has made 344 phone calls. He's done a number of, he's made the number of phone calls out, phone calls in. He's had a few meetings, and so for each of those tasks that Colin had showed you in the CRM system, and there could be hundreds, there could be thousands of them, per sales rep. But now look how we have put it in a manner that is digestible to our minds, and we can do something with that. So for example, we're looking here, if we wanted to say, is our sales team adopting this tool? In this case, we can look across and say, well, I see Mr. Boatman is and Ms. Colbert is. What's going on with Clausen and Bennett? Because they're clearly not using it. And then we can just go back and coach and ask questions. Why is that? Why are they? Do they need additional training? Is there something that they need to learn more about? Have we not made our CRM strategy, have we not made it clear that it's company-wide and everybody needs to participate? So this one particular view can talk about that. At the same time, we can also use it to manage. So we can take a look across and say, for example, in any given time period, there are so many phone calls, so many emails, so many interactions across that continuum of time that we've been looking at in the PowerPoint presentation that need to take place in order to close a deal. A metric that's often used is, this allows you to establish the activity metric. But if I'm going to have pipeline coverage of 3x, which is the standard, what is it going to take to get there? And it may differ between organizations. It may differ between inside sales and outside sales. But as we look at activity, we can begin to establish metrics. How many phone calls, how many emails is it going to take? And then we can learn. So we could, for example, look at Mr. Boatman, and we see that he and Mr. Colbert have a high number of activities. And we can then cross-check that and see if they've been successful at closing deals, and let's assume in this case that they are. And then we can extrapolate that across the team and have some actual metrics and set some goals for the individual sales reps to work to on a daily, weekly basis and report back. So as a sales manager, this enables you to have an opportunity to coach them, to have visibility into what they're doing and coach, and then go back and go through that iterative process and then see, okay, how are we doing from what we had expected to our actual performance. One of the other things I'd like to point out about this tool is that it's interactive, and it allows you to filter, for example, by month. If I just want to look at February, if I want to look at January, I can see across my sales over time, I can see how we are performing. So one of the beautiful things about this is that it's live, it's dynamic, it's real time, and it enables me to actually make those, for example, say this is the month of January. We just adopted CRM. Mr. Connolly is using the system quite a bit, but not very many other people are. Then I can go back and I can talk to my team and talk about why it's important to adopt the tool, or to adopt CRM and to actually enter in those activities and use it to record what they're doing, so we've got that captured. And then also to be sure that they're doing enough activity to make sure they're going to hit target. And then I can look at February and I can say, okay, there have been some changes, so now there have been some improvements. Who else do I still need to talk to? In this case, it might be Mr. Bennett and Ms. Clausen. And so the interactive capability to be able to ask questions of your data on the fly is really powerful. And you can make these course corrections during the quarter, as opposed to looking at it, in the rearview mirror at the end and saying, what went wrong and why. You're empowered with that information now. So this is a tool that we've built here at DM2, and it's got the interactive capability, and we can look at activity. Also activity by opportunity stage, so we can see how over the course of time again, so we can look at January, February, March, for example, or we can look at all three and see the differences. And then we can look at activity at a given stage as well, and we can filter through that. Some of the other, so there's activity, and then we've got opportunity. So we're looking at reps, so we can also look at win-loss ratio, win-loss by rep, and then opportunity by business line. And we can look at where those are they in progress, and if so, how many of those are won. This, for example, is by product line. I can take a look at this and say, okay, our business is, most of the opportunities in my pipeline are heavily weighted on card lock. If I know that we're targeting, or let me use the example of fleet fueling. If fleet fueling is generally 25% of my business, and I only have 7% or 6% of that in my pipeline, that enables me to ask a question of that data. But I don't know unless I've been able to capture the opportunity, what's going on with the transaction, set, and then also replicate my process, the stages of the opportunity in my CRM system, and then look at it against what I had expected, so performance to plan. Unless I have the ability to extract it and take a look at it, it's very difficult to ask those questions. But with this tool, you can ask that question, for example. So I can say, ooh, this stands out to me. Normally 25% of our business comes from fleet fueling, and right now we only have 6% of our pipeline comprised of fleet fueling. So that enables me to make a course correction. So that's something that we're really excited about at DM2, to be able to provide in conjunction with CRM, wherever you are in the continuum, whether you've got a CRM system in place, whether you've adopted it but need to improve on your BI strategy and move along that continuum. It's something that we think you'll find get a lot of value out of, and particularly as it kind of takes it to the next level and really hones in on sales rep activity, opportunities, and then to be able to dynamically update and then filter through as we have. And we've got a couple other of these that are not ready for prime time yet, but almost, which I'm also pretty excited about. But at this point, I'm going to flip back to the presentation, and pretty soon we'll talk about some next steps and opening up for questions. So hopefully to everybody this concept makes sense. And so what do we do next? What are our next steps to adopt or improve upon your CRM BI strategy? So hopefully from this brief discussion, You've gotten a sense of why CRM is important and why using the BI tools inherent to Sage CRM are important, and then also the others that for example, that we've created at DM2. And so what next? What do we do next? How do we, and what are we going to, how can DM2 help you to kind of move along that continuum? So Colin, I've got, there are 3 things up here, and Colin was going to talk to you about the first 2.
Okay. Yeah, this kind of depends on each individual, company where you are, in process. Are you a new, implementation of CRM, or do you have an existing install that's been out there for a while and you're looking to kind of, improve or enhance what you have? So the first step really would be to kind of go in and just do a review of where you are, and we can also, kind of do a demonstration of best practices and, how other clients that we have are using the system, what kind of opportunity processes, opportunity workflows, how are our other clients doing things. And just, if you are new to the system, we need to kind of do pre-training as well, give you an orientation on the system so that you know enough about the system to be able to design it moving forward. So, once we've done that, just kind of giving you an orientation as to what's possible with the system and possibly, pre-training if needed, then the next step really is like a needs analysis. So we'd have to, do a pretty in-depth review of your processes, where you are, where you want to go. If this is a new implementation, then we have to look pretty closely at your opportunity process, the stages in the process, how that's supposed to work. If you have multiple product lines, multiple business lines, the whole process for fuels versus lubricants could be completely different. So, the design of the workflow, it might be 2 separate workflows, or it might be, one size fits all. That's the kind of thing that we'd have to look at and kind of design for you. So, what do the screens look like? How does your lead, process work? All that kind of stuff. We also have the case side. After the sale is made, how do you manage complaints, billing questions, any kind of a process that occurs after the sale that could possibly be a case. And then there's also marketing capabilities in the system, all that kind of stuff, that if we're doing a needs analysis, we would go into some depth. A lot of times that takes a day or 2, and then we document it all really carefully as to what the scope of what we're going to be doing in the future is going to be. And so that's about it. So for, like a review of everything and then the needs analysis, that would be the next steps. And
then another, thanks Colin, and then another option as well, we are going to be, so you've had a brief overview of CRM and BI today during this webinar. We're going to be doing a DM2U in March, date to be determined here very shortly, where we're going to take the content that we've talked about today and expand upon it and go into more in-depth, and we'll also include a participant handout at the end of that, and that is also a way to explore this topic in more detail. Also, if you're on this webinar today and there might be somebody who in your company who could benefit from something like DM2U or who would benefit from this content, that's another opportunity for you to bring them on in, and we can go in a little bit deeper dive. We were really excited to have this platform to talk about CRM and business intelligence and the Sage offering, and then also show you some really great. When you were looking at the demo, you were looking at some of the custom builds that we've done that have worked really well for our customers in our verticals. So we can do those, sit down and talk with you and do those kinds of things as well. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Tom and just thank you for your participation. And there you go, Tom.
Thanks, Trish. Thanks, Colin. Nice job there. Well, for those of you who have attended our webinars before, this is where we take the time to take 30 seconds to plug next month's webinar. Next month on March 13th at 11:30 Pacific, 1:30 Central Time, we invite you to join professional service consultant Colin to learn how adding our major oil lubricants interfaces to your system can help you automate a lot of the routine processes involved with processing Chevron, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and Shell lubricant transactions. These would be transactions for national accounts buybacks, what Shell refers to as deliver for our accounts, or DFOA. We also have some additional capabilities built into the Shell interface where we can handle replenishment orders, vendor managed inventory orders. But all of these interfaces work with buybacks, and those are the basically national accounts that these major oil companies sell and then have you service. So traditionally, you would have to enter that information into our system, turn around, and enter that same information over again onto one of the websites. With these interfaces, we basically eliminated that. We created connections to our system to sites, or in the case of ExxonMobil, their Pegmo system site. And I think Shell calls it their e-router system. So we basically allowed you to key that information in thanks to our system, and then it will automatically connect to those sites or systems and upload and exchange that information. So obviously you're eliminating double entries, you're eliminating errors that can take place there, and you're also speeding up the reconciliation process for your system staff. So we invite you to attend that. Shortly after this webinar is over, I'll be sending everyone basically an email of this invitation, and we encourage you to register. On that note, we can open it up to questions, and hopefully we'll have all the answers for you. Looks like the first question is from John over at Frost. He is asking where the Excel activity tool is in the system.
Okay, I'll take that question. The Excel spreadsheet is ties in through an ODBC connection to scripts that we write in your CRM system. So basically, we have chosen a number of fields out of the CRM system, and then via an ODBC connection, those fields and that data is pulled into the spreadsheet, and that's where it's created. It can then be sent out. So it sits on your server. The spreadsheet sits on your server and connects via ODBC, but then you can send the report out via email or convert it into a PDF, however you might want to do that to people in your organization. Eventually, I would like to have it integrated back into the CRM system itself, and I see that as something to happen within the next year. We could create a tab for that, but that's where it is. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. John, if you need some more information on that, you can feel free to contact us after the webinar is over. He says thank you, so I assume he just typed in thank you, so I assume
okay, great.
And that is actually the only question we have right now. I'll give it another minute. I know that's a lot of information to digest. And as always, I know how that works. We hang up and then all the questions come to mind. So if you do have any questions that come to mind after the webinar has been closed out, feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com, and we'll work in conjunction with Trish and Colin to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered there. It doesn't look like we're getting any more questions at the moment.
We
is there something else you wanted to cover, Trish?
No, just we love questions, and if there's anything specific to your organization that has popped out at you at this point, feel free to contact us, and we'd love to be able to help you be more successful. It's what gives us a lot of pleasure in what we do, so that's what we're here for.
Okay, very good. All right, I just want to remind everybody that today's webinar has been recorded. Once the recording is available, I'll post it along with a copy of today's presentation slides on our website, and we'll put the video up on our YouTube channel. And then I'll send around a message to everybody to let them know they're available for viewing or downloading. And as I said before, if you think of any other questions after the webinar is over or would like to find out more about today's topic, please feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com. I'd like to thank Trish and Colin for putting together an excellent presentation. And I would like to thank everyone for attending today's Business Intelligence for Sage CRM webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.